Hi guys, this is Haseeb from HEZICO, and today we're going to be building the first part of our learning platform. In this part, we're going to be focusing on the hero section. We're going to be vibe coding the whole platform from start to end. For our AI model, we're going to be using Gemini through the AI Studio. And for our framework, we're going to be using nextjs. So let's get started. So with the AI, we're going to tell it what we want. So I want to create a Next.js project for my learning platform. I want to use Tailwind styling, and that's it. I think we don't have to identify anything else. Give me the steps to get started. By setting up the project, and we will be using TypeScript. So we're going to follow everything the AI says, and I'm going to teach you how I leverage AI to basically speedline the development process. Okay, so it's going to think through what it wants us to give, and it's going to give us the steps that we need to follow. Okay, so it wants us to run this command. We're going to do that. Firstly, let's just create the folder where we will store our project. Desktop.HEZICO, and we can say Learn.HEZICO. Right, in the terminal, okay, so this is going to depend on the process of creating the app will pretty much depend on how fast your internet is. We're just going to press dot on the project name, which will just create the project inside the root directory. We want to use TypeScript, we want to use ESLint, yes. We want to use Tailwind, yes. Yes, no turbo back, and default alias should be okay. I'm good with that. And I think it just told us all of the steps that we just went through. Okay, so once this is done, it will have the same folder structure that it is mentioning right now. So source app, and then we have all of these files that are created. And then we're going to follow along and create this page.tsx. Okay, so while it's doing that, let's go into our page.tsx. Currently, this code this contains all of the boilerplate code from Next.js. So once this is done initializing, we can run this project and see how it goes. Okay, so once our project has successfully initialized, we'll go into the page directory and we will run the dev server for this. Okay, it will run on our local host, so we can just either copy this or we can just open it directly from VS Code and paste it here. And we will see that it's starting to compile that code. And there we go. This is all of this that we see here is coming from this. So we will just copy this homepage, paste it here and save, and we will see these changes. Great. Now what we want to do is basically it's going to even tell us, okay, so it's telling us how to create an external component, which we will do moving on. Okay, so let's focus on the hero section of the landing page. Let's use shadcn as our UI library. Let's add a dark mode toggle. Let's also write the metadata for the site in the layout.tsx. I don't have the icons, so you can skip that in the metadata. Okay, so I've asked it to generate the metadata. What it is basically is whenever we load the website, we have a title over here. When we share the website, we generally get this card which has the description, the title, and whatever the website is. So we're generating that. It's one of those steps that you can do at the end of the process, but it's something that you can just do and just leave and forget about it. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to copy this layout and paste. And now if we refresh, we'll see this is our learning platform, master new skills online. So we need to basically change this, and we can say learn.HEZICO open source. It's like an open source learning platform, right? So an open source learning platform, and we will basically see learn.HEZICO as well. So once this is done, now it will basically give us the steps to initialize dark mode. So for that, it wants us to install a package. Okay, so we will install next themes. Once that's done, it wants to create a new component. So for that, we'll just go into our apps folder, create a components folder. Inside of that, we will create a themes provider, theme provider.tsx. Now, generally when you're coding, try to keep the folder structure as clean as possible, so that when you're referencing back and forth between the AI knows what you're doing. And try to even send it an image of your folder structures if you're working on a project that's already built, just so it has an idea of where all of those files are. Again, most of these techniques are only viable on smaller projects. Once you start building those bigger projects, you will see that like the context window of the AI is pretty limited, so you need to pick and choose what you tell the AI. That's something you need to keep in mind when you're building these things. Okay, so that's done. It wants us to redo our layout. Basically, okay, so what the layout does is it adds information around the body of the website. So we will do the same thing here, right? So we'll just copy and paste it here. Take our metadata that we have written. We can basically skip the rest because it has already generated it for us. Okay, so our metadata goes here. And also, most of the time I get this question like, why am I not using Cursor or any other IDE with the AI built in? Because generally working on projects that are pre-built and using an IDE which has AI enabled, it basically limits what I can do with the AI. So if I start changing files, if my project doesn't have a reference for those files that are already created, the AI will just hallucinate. So it just doesn't make sense for me to use Cursor. If I was starting from scratch, I would go with Cursor, but generally for most use cases, you can just go with VS Code with Gemini or any other AI model open on the side. Okay, so once our layout is set, we will see that we also have to change our, okay, yeah. So now it wants us to install Lucid React. What it is, it's basically a library of icons. So we'll just install that. It's also going to install ShadCN for us. And we will create a mod toggle element as well, just so we can toggle between dark mode and light mode. So we copy this, paste it here, and we also want to, yeah, I don't think the button, yeah. So it's referencing those elements that are not created yet, and we can see that our the implementation, the AI generated, is not valid, right? So we use what we're getting from the terminal. Just copy and paste this and we'll be good to go. Okay, so component JSON, yes, right. It's going to create the component JSON. It's for the reference for ShadCN, which we are using, and we also want to use the drop down menu. Copy, paste. You don't have to worry about this because when you're using ShadCN, you generally don't have to touch this after you've initialized. It basically contains the style and the references to Tailwind and stuff. So it's a one-time initialize. Once it's done, you don't touch it until like the whole project is completed. So this is done, and it wants it to add to the header. Okay, so it has created a header for us which we can use. Generally, I prefer to create the headers in the main page, but yeah, keeping separate components is a good idea. Okay, so page.tsx, and we should be copy and paste. Good to go. Okay, so coming back, I think we need to yeah. So we had killed the instance that was running, so we will run this again. Whenever you're installing packages, I would recommend to just kill the instance. Like if npm run dev is running, try to kill the instance, install the packages. Sometimes nextjs or any of the React frameworks do mess up when you're installing packages and the instance is running. Okay, so it has done some things I would generally not do while designing things, but I think we need to check where the header is, right? Okay, so did we add the header? I don't think we did, right? So the AI forgot to add the headers. That's what I'm saying. Like things like these happen a lot when you're working with AI. So let's add the header as is. We can just do this, and pretty much we will be good to go. Okay, let's see. And do we see it? I don't think we do. What are the issues? I'm pretty much non-existent. Okay, so we don't need this header, but the header that we created. So we will component header. That's good. And let's use that header, right? And let's see. Okay, so pretty much it has. Okay, so dark mode is now working, but like I said, I would not structure my page like this. So now we're going to focus on designing the hero section. Generally, when I'm designing, I try to when working with clients, I try to ask them what type of look they want for their business. And generally for a learning platform, especially that's revolving around tech, I would want something sleek and something that's more in tune with people in tech. So what we will do is currently with the hero section, I think we should add an animated background. And you don't have to generally create animations from scratch. I generally use libraries. So this is one of those AI library, the UI libraries I generally use when building websites. So we can go into the components and we can see. Okay, so this is something I want to use. So you can see like this is what we get. Okay, so let's install. It's a pretty straightforward install. We kill the instance, copy and paste, and we start again. Okay, so it's going to do its thing. Okay, so now that it is installed, we can go to components, get the text hover effect, copy and paste it into AI Studio and tell it this is our text hover effect. I want this in the background of my hero section. I want separation between the foreground and the background. So we need to tell it as much as we can about the design that we have in our mind, or if we have a Figma design, we can just drag and drop it and tell it this is what we want. And that's a conversation that we have to have with AI. It's a bit of back and forth when you're dropping in design files, but if you're just explaining it, most of the time it just if it's not a complex design, it figures it out. Want to simplify the current page, just a text and button centered and I want you to place the header properly. Give me the page.tsx for this. You can specify what file you want from it, and it pretty much handles the rest. So we've given it this component that we just installed, told it what, now it has the context of what it does and how it can use it in our hero section. So let's wait for it to generate its response. Okay, so it does do dumb things like this. It wants us to create a new file. We've already done that, so we have to skip this. We already have Framer installed when we installed this this AI or this UI component, and then we can just copy this, and I think we'll be good to go. Most of the times we are. Point of reference that we have to fix. Oh, not like this. Text hover. Oh, no, this is not like. Okay. Component / UI text hover effect. Text hover effect. There we go. Control S, and we should, yeah, I have to restart the instance. Okay, so refreshing the page. Yeah. Okay, great. Now I think like you can see that we can't see much of what we applied, so we can't see the hover text hover effect, and we also can't see the header because it forgot to apply it. So we can just copy. We can also just tell it to basically just take a screenshot of the page and ask it to can you add the header and make the text hover effect dark mode / light mode friendly. Generally, I prefer using Tailwind when designing UI elements because it's pretty straightforward and AI understands it. When you're learning programming, I recommend just going through with Tailwind, but you don't have to learn what each of these things does. You just need to have a broad idea of what these mean. So absolute means absolute position, z0 means it should be on the z index, should be 0. This adds flex on it, display flex, and then it centers the elements, justifies them, gives this the opacity. Then we can, in dark mode, the opacity should be 10. This is what basically Tailwind does, right? But you don't have to learn what these components mean or these words mean actually. Okay, so fix the text component and the layout.tsx. To fix the header, we'll adopt with the more. Okay, so it wants us to add the header in our layout, which could be a good idea because the header should be displayed on all of the pages. Like I said, it is something that we can do. Okay, so we just wanna, okay, Control Z, Control V, Control S. Okay, theme provider, and header is from, yeah, we basically just import header. Like these type of problems do come up. Like right now we just have to identify where our header component is. Oh, okay, so I just applied it to the wrong component. So we need to go to layout, then we can just paste, and we can just take our metadata, Control X, Control V, and then we can just remove the older version. Alright, so theme provider, import theme provider, comes through, and the header from header, right, Control S, and we come here, there we go. So it has now integrated it to all of our pages, and we still cannot see our foreground, like we can't background of like the text hover effect. So we want to see what could be causing it, right? So the AI wants us to basically change this part of our text hover effect to basically make it more consistent with dark mode. But let's just refresh. Let's see if we can see that by changing the duration. We cannot. Right. So let's go to text hover effect, and let's see what we can change here. Okay, so SVG defs, and let's just change this line. So transition, example for transition, wants us to change this line, right? X 50/50, change this line, and we change this line. So it wants us to change the look of how our text is being rendered using Tailwind, and I think this should work, but it doesn't. So let's see if our components are being initialized properly, right? Okay, so we'll just double check if start your journey, repeat, right, and then if the background seems to be there, but for some reason it's not showing up properly, right? Opacity is, makes it cover the entire main tag. And so let's like change the opacity, right? And let's try again. Okay, so we can see it now, and we can also see how we just changed our the thickness of the text so that it's more visible for us. This pretty much wraps up the hero section of the website. I could keep going and build the whole front page, but I think we can keep it to the hero section for now. Next, we will start building out the modules and how they will look. This website won't have a typical backend because we won't be storing any data locally on our side, and we won't be tracking any data from the user. So it's going to be pretty much local onto the user side. The progress tracking will be done on the user side as well. So that's what this platform will do. All of our long form videos will now be posted on this platform once it's completed. So this was part 1, building a hero section using AI, using vibe coding, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, drop a comment. If you want me to build something else, just let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.